peaceful protests, the Lajpal Foundation, also the Al Ansar Foundation, and a number of organizations and parties supporting this initiative. This includes the likes of the ANC, the EFF, Africa for Palestine, UDM, the African Independent Congress, the NFP, and also looking at the Muslim Relief Alliance in KwaZulu Natal. Dr. Shabier, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Welcome and Jazakallah khairan so much for joining us this morning. Jummah Mubarak to you. And we trust and hope that you're going to be having a wonderful Jummah, inshallah.
Jummah Mubarak to you as well, Inayat. And Alhamdulillah, we are looking forward to today.
Yes, obviously the momentum is still there and it will continue as far as Palestine is concerned, calling for the freedom of Palestine. We see it right across the country. We see it right across the world. And obviously it is not going to stop. And this afternoon, we've got a peaceful protest that is taking place in Durban. A lot more detail from you, please, Dr. Shabier.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Jazakallah, Inayat. From this morning, we've started with a prayer where we have implored our community to remember Palestine at Tahajjud, at Fajr, and we will culminate that with a special dua at Jummah at the Grey Street Masjid. Thereafter, there will be a march. It is not an exclusively Muslim march. As you mentioned earlier, we have a range of partners. We have huge participation from the political wing, civic organizations, civil society, labor, organized labor, progressive formations. We have media partners, we have the youth, and the list goes on. Alhamdulillah. So after Jummah, inshallah, at 1:30, the march will begin outside the Grey Street Masjid and going down the CBD to culminate at the City Hall. And we have a program with high-profile dignitaries such as members of parliament, leaders of political parties across the spectrum that will address the crowd.
Yes, I think what is very important is, and what has amazed me is how many different groupings, the political parties, and you mentioned civil society, trade unions, and the like, have actually embraced the cause for Palestine, Dr. Omar.
Mm-hmm. Initially, the Palestinian issue was seen very narrowly, and it was seen mainly as just a Muslim-Jewish issue. And Alhamdulillah, with the exposure, and I think particularly with things like social media, the truth has emerged, and all right-minded people across the globe are now engaged in joining hands, in putting pressure against this illegal apartheid state of Israel. So today's march, as I said earlier, is not exclusively Muslim. We've reached out to all people who joined the Palestinians. We see this as a totally humanitarian cause. And there are many placards, and the one that I like very much, it says, you don't have to be Muslim to support Palestine. You just have to be human.
Well, certainly, in fact, we've got a march coming up on the East End where I live as well, and that is taking place tomorrow, and that is also going to be going through to the City Hall in the Ekurhuleni area. And I think one of the key issues here is to get that message loud and clear at a local level. Because this is what is needed. We've seen the international outcry, but now we are focusing specifically on a local level, and this is where it's, I wouldn't say a challenge, but this is where the opportunities lie to basically reach out to people on the ground, to reach out to people at a local level, to create that awareness, and to obviously highlight the plight of the people of Palestine, Dr. Omar.
You're absolutely right, Inayat, and I like the point you make about the local level participation. In particular, I want to applaud the people of Durban. There has been so many initiatives. We've had a march last week as well in the city of Durban. There are motorcades, there are curbside protests. There are so many different initiatives. Even today, while this march is going on, I'm aware of several other protests that are going on. And this is important at a local level. It's important to make it personal. It's important to build momentum. It's important to agitate for a greater say in and a greater voice against apartheid Israel.
Yes, and often what we find is, when things just basically cool off or calm down for a period of time, we tend to actually forget the cause of the people of Palestine. Meanwhile, the atrocities are still ongoing, and we've seen last week. Everybody was hyped up with regard to the ceasefire, but we see what has been taking place in Jerusalem in the last week or so. We've seen what has taken place in Al-Aqsa, and we've seen the settler colonial project still very, very much evident and, in places like Sheikh Jarrah and also some of the other neighborhoods surrounding Jerusalem.
There was a lot of hype about the ceasefire, and alhamdulillah, we thank Allah that that level of brutality has stopped for that particular incident. But the ceasefire means nothing. It isn't a stop to the oppression. It doesn't stop the siege of the land. It doesn't stop the barbaric treatment meted out to the Palestinians. None of that has changed. So it is vital that we continue and not become complacent because of the ceasefire. It's vital that we put even more pressure. And as you rightfully mentioned, the siege and the aggression still continues despite the ceasefire.
Just looking at the program, obviously, as you hit or you end the protest at City Hall, is there a program this afternoon?
Yes, there is. And I did indicate earlier we have a wide range of participants. I needed to include as well that we have leaders of other faith-based groups as well who will address the gathering. We also have the leadership of Amnesty International. So clearly this is a humanitarian issue. We want to bring this to light. And it's heartening to see that this is working. There are over 80 countries in which protests have taken place. So alhamdulillah, this is really a good thing. In terms of the actual program, we will be handing over a specific memorandum to the mayor of Durban, who will be there. And part of the demands of that memorandum is that we are demanding that eThekwini, Durban, ceases to do business with Israel. We are asking for a complete closure of the Israeli embassy in Pretoria. We are asking for our ports in Durban not to be associated with any ship or any goods or any activities based with Israeli ships. Last week, the dock workers took a decision not to offload cargo from the Zim Shanghai, which is Israeli-owned but flies a Hong Kong mask to avoid detection. So these are the kinds of issues that we will be asking for economic and political isolation of Israel.
Yes, and I think, I see this at the local level, and this is obviously featuring a lot more in terms of isolating Israel, in terms of not doing business. At the same time, also a message goes through to the government, to the officials, even at a local level, in terms of not associating with Israel, obviously, and also, you mentioned things like the port. And when we look at even our airports at the end of the day, because there also, there are serious concerns, and also with regard to allowing Israelis to travel to South Africa visa-free, and not, obviously allowing, and we have this regulation surrounding Palestinians who require visa. So, these are all issues that are coming up, and as we drill down, as we break down this entire relationship with Israel, a lot for the powers that be to think about, Dr. Omar.
Absolutely. And we understand that these are broad policy decisions of the state, and hence today's march in particular is targeting that political structure. We are very heartened by the statements made by them thus far. Yesterday's ANC-led march, the ministers that were present there made very heartening statements that support our cause. But we need more And this is our reason of engaging that political leadership and saying we need to take this to the next level. We need to demonstrate that we, the people of South Africa, demand that these human rights violations be stopped. And it's a very emotive issue because of South Africa's own experience with apartheid. So it's something that's very, very emotional, and we have a lot of support. And we want to show that leadership, that your policies need to reflect the will of the people who are desperately calling out for human rights violations to stop.
Yes, and when we're talking about policy and policy decisions, and one of the biggest policy decisions that our government needs to take is with regards to the two-state solution, because we've seen the response from the entire world, where everybody is talking about getting the two-state solution back on track. And at this point in time, we know that that is a no-no. There will be no two-state solution. There can only be one state in Palestine. Because we've seen what a two-state solution has done. It's basically given an excuse to Israel to prolong their settler colonialization project, and all they've done over the years is just been more and more theft of land, theft of villages, and now we see what is taking place in Sheikh Jarrah and other neighborhoods in Jerusalem.
Sorry, Inat, you just got cut off at the end.
Yes, I said we see the excuse of this two-state solution and has just basically given Israel the Zionist state. It's given them a lot more clout as far as more theft of land is concerned. And the latest, we see what is happening in Jerusalem. They've stolen most of Palestine, but now Jerusalem seems to be the main target.
The political landscape has many challenges. We're also aware of many organizations that may seek to support Palestine, but also support a two-state solution. For us, as civil rights activists, as promoting the cause of Palestine, we are clear about what we see as the right of Palestinians. However, in terms of the political processes and in terms of what needs to happen, we support the right of Palestinians for self-determination, howsoever that may be. Obviously, we know the answer to that, but we will support their desire for their sovereignty.
Well, Jazakallah khairan so much for that. Now, just finally, you obviously the appeal goes out to people, and we know we've got people in Durban listening on the Al Ansar platform as well, for people to come out in the numbers. And just as far as COVID protocols are concerned, I'm sure you've taken that into account as well.
I just need to add, we are very concerned and we are responsible. Every precaution has been taken for COVID safety protocols. Sanitizers will be available. We insist that everybody wears a mask, and we ask for social distancing. It does present major challenges. What we have done from the organizational point of view is to break up the march into small batches of people so it's easier to maintain social distancing. At the platform itself at City Hall, we've taken every precaution to ensure social distancing. We have some very high-level politicians and public personalities, and it would be unfair for us to put them also in a situation where they would be criticized for us not observing COVID protocols. So our appeal to everyone is, please come through, but also please take responsibility for yourself. We will provide the necessary safety assistance wherever we can. But we appeal to everyone to come out in their numbers and to show this leadership that we are serious about Palestine.
Well, Dr. Shabier Omar, Jazakallah khairan so much. Allah accept from you, and we wish you all the best, inshallah, for the march and everybody else who are participating. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Would you like to give Sadaqah 365 days a year? You can.